Good morning everybody, this is Lara with your daily analysis for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. They had a pretty strong session and they've all closed red for yesterday's session, but so far within the 6th of March they're moving higher, although I'm recording this at 3 AM New York time, so a long way to go in this session. Yesterday's session is an outside session, higher high, lower low. It's a bearish reversal pattern and a dark cloud cover for Bitcoin. It has pushed from volume, but because the candlestick is an outside session, red push from volume is pushing price lower within this session. Overall volume is increasing though with upward movement, and there's a very obvious upward trend with a series of higher highs and a series of higher lows. Trends don't always move in straight lines though, they'll have pullbacks and consolidations along the way, and as Bitcoin is at its previous all-time high at 68,800, it's absolutely to be expected normal behaviour for it to see a pullback or consolidation here. So this dark cloud cover isn't necessarily telling us there's going to be a 180-degree reversal. What we should expect is it's telling us it's going to be a short-term pullback or consolidation within the ongoing upward trend, because this trend is not yet as extreme as it can get for this market. The dark cloud cover has really strong push from volume. That's actually really good to see, increasing volume returning to the market, and I expect a lot of people are going to be calling for a double top and a huge reversal and a new bear market for Bitcoin. That would be absolutely premature to call for such a big trend change. The trend is very obviously up. The trend is your friend. ADX is still telling us there's an upward trend. Technically it is very extreme, but Bitcoin can achieve ADX up to 80. ADX can get much more extreme than this before a larger consolidation or pullback may be necessary to relieve those extreme conditions. RSI has reached fairly deeply overbought today. It's just back into neutral. A little consolidation or pullback may relieve this short-term extreme condition before the trend resumes. And money flow is nicely back in neutral territory after that big red candlestick, so it has relieved extreme conditions for the short term for money flow. ATR continues to increase, showing volatility continues to return to this market, which is exactly what I would expect as it's about to make new all-time highs on a closing basis. We still don't have that yet. We will probably have that during March, but if we have a more time-consuming consolidation develop here, it may not be toward the mid or end of March that we see a close and an upward breakout to new all-time highs. When that happens, I expect energy to be released to the upside, but there may be a little bit of work to be done first to relieve short-term extreme conditions. Now, as soon as we see a close to new all-time highs, then the consolidation or pullback should be expected to be over, and a very, very strong bullish run for Bitcoin should be expected to have just begun. Look out for a consolidation or pullback first. Ethereum is moving strongly higher at 3:05 AM New York time, but there's such a long way to go in this session before we can make any conclusions about what's happening here. So this is a spinning top candlestick at the end of this third wave. I'm going to label this the end of sub-minuet wave 3 and the lower wick sub-minuet wave 4. This Elliott Wave count for Ethereum now expects the middle of the big third wave has already passed. If my Elliott Wave count is wrong, it'll be in having too high a degree of labeling. We could just be seeing a first wave complete and then another brief shallow second wave. In other words, if my wave count here is wrong, it's in seeing the middle of a big third wave already passed that could be ahead of us. This wave count sees a third wave at multiple degrees, moving through its middle and moving toward its end. Very common for cryptocurrencies to exhibit fifth waves that end third wave impulses that exhibit huge strength. So I'll be looking for one or more of sub-minuet 5 to end minuet 3, or minuet 5 to end minute 3, or minute 5 to end minor 3 at higher time frames, minor 5 to end intermediate 3, and intermediate 5 to end primary 3 are both expected to be very, very strong upward movements. It's the fifth waves to end third wave impulses for cryptocurrencies that typically exhibit the strongest movement, vertical upward movement. This candlestick here for the 5th of March is a spinning top candlestick. It just represents a pause, indecision, a pause within an ongoing upward trend. It has an increase in volume, but because the upper and lower wicks are both quite long, the lower slightly longer than the upper, we can't really draw too much of a conclusion about that. In terms of volume profile, we need to look inside this candlestick at the hourly time frame. So having a look at that, here's the hourly time frame for that candlestick and its downward movement, which has a really strong push from volume, a long bullish long lower wick, and now we're seeing upward movement. And so the volume profile for this candlestick is bearish. So volume pushing price lower within the session, but now it's just followed by upward movement, and this bullish long lower wick, slightly longer than the upper, does suggest that this is just a pause within an ongoing upward trend. I'll continue to look for support about 3580, and if we see any further long lower wicks, 3030. That spinning top candlestick with its bearishness may have relieved some short-term bearishness in Ethereum, allowing for the resumption of an upward trend, or it could be the start of a consolidation or a pullback before the upward trend resumes. Today, ADX is declining after reaching reasonably extreme for Ethereum. It got to about 60, which is somewhat extreme, so we could be looking for a consolidation or a pullback to relieve this. Today, ADX tells us there's no clear trend anymore. RSI has reached fairly deeply overbought, so Ethereum could be looking for a consolidation or a pullback here to relieve these extreme conditions, and money flows return to neutral. So that spinning top candlestick has relieved extreme money flow, but not yet ADX and RSI. There could be some work to do before the upward trend is ready to resume. My Elliott Wave count for XRP, this has been a really difficult market. It typically is for Elliott Wave. It does tend to have a lot of leading diagonals. I'm going to revert back to seeing a leading diagonal for Minuet Wave 1, now possibly complete at the high for the 5th of March. It does subdivide really well, and it fits really well within its trend lines. So 1, 2, 3 is longer than 1, 4 is longer than 2, and 5 is longer than 1 and 3. And now we could have the pullback for Minuet Wave 2 complete here, or it could move a bit lower. If it's complete down here, then it's just slightly overshot the log function of the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio, which is calculated at 0.5509, and there is still a bit of support in the 54-55 cent area. So I think I'm going to label Minuet 2 complete here. I'm going to allow for the possibility it could continue lower. If it does, it may not move below 0.4883. This wave count now expects a third wave up for XRP, and that can only subdivide as an impulse. So hopefully, if I've got this right to this point, the next bit of Elliott Wave analysis is going to be not as difficult. I won't say easy, none of this is easy, but not as difficult as these diagonal structures. They're so difficult to get. Technicals on the daily, the candlestick for the 5th of March completes as a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, telling us to expect a trend change. Bearish candlestick patterns, though, and bullish as well, reversal patterns, don't tell us one of two things. They don't tell us the next direction for the trend, and they don't tell us how long the following trend will last. There are 3 directions for price: up, down, or sideways. So a bearish candlestick isn't telling us that we're going to go from up to down or from up to sideways, and then it doesn't tell us if we're going to go from up to full on down or from up to sideways for just a little bit of time. So in other words, it doesn't tell us if we're going to get a full 180-degree reversal to a trend in the opposite direction, or if we're just going to get a pause, a consolidation within an ongoing upward trend. For that, we look to other technicals. Just changing that resistance to support, I'll expect support about 60 cents, and below that, support about 54-55 cents has been tested again, and it's been rejected. So I expect now support about 60 cents. That bearish reversal pattern has a strong push from volume, so I will expect some reaction to follow, most likely a sideways consolidation. ADX is declining, the DX lines are now starting to whipsaw. There's no clear trend for XRP. That's typical during a consolidation. RSI just reached overbought, well in neutral territory, and money flow still in neutral. Those conditions never got very extreme, so because the conditions weren't extreme, in the context of not extreme conditions, a bearish reversal pattern is most likely going to be indicating a short-term consolidation or pullback, and not necessarily a big reversal for XRP. And that's it today from me with your quick update. I hope everyone's having a lovely day.